Ethan, a 16-year-old boy, stood quietly before the grave of his brother, Ryan, unaware that today would become a turning point in his life. The pure white flowers Ethan brought were not just a token of remembrance, but also a part of an effort to reconcile, to soothe the pain his family was enduring. The gentle afternoon sunlight of Chicago cast down, making the scene both serene and somber. As he bent down to place the bouquet, an unexpected wave of tension washed over him. The sound of a police siren rang out, with flashing lights cutting through the stillness of the space. Ethan could not comprehend what was happening. He looked around and noticed his mother, Michelle, approaching with a worried expression on her face. A sense of apprehension filled the air as the officers stepped forward. "We received a report of a suspicious situation," one police officer spoke, glancing over at the neighbor, Lisa, who stood nearby with a smug demeanor. Lisa was the president of the Homeowners Association HOA and always sought to control every aspect of life in the community. She often had no qualms about asserting her authority, making people wary whenever there was any action that did not align with the HOA's regulations. The confrontation between Michelle and Lisa unfolded right by Ryan's grave. "We are only here to remember my son," Michelle said, her tone resolute yet heavy with sorrow. "No one is doing anything wrong." Lisa immediately countered, "There may be no violation, but your son's presence here, on a day like this, can cause a disturbance and does not provide a positive image for the community." Unable to endure any longer, Michelle clenched her fists, filled with indignation. "Don't turn a moment of remembrance into a lawsuit. This is my greatest loss. I do not need your protection." The situation grew more tense, with scrutinizing gazes from the neighbors around and whispered conversations. Ethan felt out of place, caught between the grief of loss on one side and the pressure from a stern woman attempting to maintain her status on the other. Eventually, after the police confirmed that no wrongdoing had occurred, they left, leaving the weight of sorrow still pressing down on Michelle and Ethan. However, from the initial shock, a fire ignited in Michelle's heart. She resolved that she could not allow Lisa to continue abusing her power, not just for herself, but for the other residents in the community. It was here, born from the loss of a loved one, that a fierce battle began. Michelle knew she would not stand idly by and let this pain turn into fear. Instead, she would fight for justice. The meeting of the Homeowners Association HOA board took place at the community center, where people often gathered to discuss issues in the neighborhood. The atmosphere was heavy and tense, with scrutinizing glances exchanged between attendees, indicating that the road ahead would not be easy. Lisa, with a serious expression, stepped up to the podium with the confidence of a chairperson who had held power for far too long. Never having faced any truly significant challenge, Michelle sat in the midst of the crowd, a rising anger swelling within her. She had been patient with the excessive regulations that Lisa imposed, and now it was time to speak out in defense of her rights. Ethan sat beside his mother, his eyes filled with anxiety yet brimming with unwavering strength. This was no longer just Michelle's battle. It was a fight for the very values they believed in. "Dear members of the board," Lisa began, her tone respectful yet pressurized. "Today, we will discuss some new rules regarding the use of public spaces in our area. These regulations are intended to protect the safety and order for all residents." Michelle thought to herself, why are these rules only set to control and impose, rather than genuinely help the community? She decided that now was the time to make her voice heard. As Lisa continued to talk about the regulations, Michelle stood up, her gaze steady and resolute. "Madam Lisa, may I speak?" Michelle voiced, not allowing her anxiety to hinder her. The HOA's regulations have become increasingly strict, and I wonder whether they are truly necessary. It seems that they are not only meant to protect the community, but are also creating barriers to creativity and connection among residents. Michelle's voice echoed through the room, turning the air that had been tense moments earlier into something electrifying. Hundreds of eyes were focused on her, some in surprise, while others showed support. Lisa could no longer remain silent. Her pride was openly challenged, something she did not expect. "Michelle," Lisa responded, her tone defiant. "There are rules in place for the common good. Without regulations, this neighborhood would descend into chaos." Lisa's confidence was gradually waning, but she tried to maintain control of the situation. "But sometimes we need to weigh order against freedom," Michelle countered. She felt empowerment rise within her as she noticed Ethan nodding in agreement. There are many ways to ensure safety without having to control every action of each resident. We need to make this area a place where people want to live, not just somewhere they are obliged to follow rigid rules. Michelle's words radiated like waves through the crowd. Whispers started circulating, and some residents began to support her perspective. The fear of being overpowered in the face of Lisa was gradually fading. Michelle continued, "We should be more open, encouraging creativity and collaboration. We can together organize events that connect residents rather than just sitting here and criticizing each other." Lisa felt shaken, not only by what Michelle was saying, but also by the strong reactions of the residents around her. "Michelle, I understand that your opinions may come from the heart, but we must prioritize the interests of the whole," Lisa retorted, though her tone was losing its earlier strength. "And if in pursuit of that interest we must forget joy, creativity, and humanity in this community, then truly that is a price too steep to pay." Michelle adeptly replied. The debate grew more heated, and the air thickened with tension. Michelle knew she could not allow Lisa to remain in power any longer. Around her, several residents stood up, showing their support for what she had just said. The tide could turn, and that was what mattered most. The HOA meeting was not just a place to discuss regulations, but also an opportunity to listen to the forgotten voices. Michelle realized that if she did not stand up, the future of the community could remain under Lisa's control. The moment for change was imminent, and she knew she could be the one to spark this battle, not just for herself, but for all the other residents. Michelle felt the weight of Ryan's loss still heavy in her heart. Each passing day, she and her son Ethan struggled to find a way to heal. Yet, life in their Chicago neighborhood seemed to thrust them into new turmoil. The arrival of Lisa, both a neighbor and the president of the Homeowners Association, ignited a smoldering anger within her. It was not merely a dull HOA meeting. The atmosphere was charged, and long-buried dissatisfaction erupted into biting words. In Michelle's mind, the regulations Lisa imposed increasingly appeared absurd. How could one require people to adhere to rules without understanding their feelings and circumstances? She found it difficult not only to sympathize with herself, but also with those around her. The pain of loss could not become a reason to tolerate wrongdoing. Michelle resolved to investigate the power Lisa wielded. Her footsteps led to conversations with other residents, revealing stories interwoven with lingering frustrations. A former teacher who had lived in the neighborhood for 2 decades recounted the once hopeful land around them, but now it had been transformed into prison walls due to Lisa's monopoly. "We are no longer free," she said. Her voice choked. These words opened up a new dimension for Michelle, fueling her determination more than ever. Michelle understood that seeing with the naked eye would not bring about change. she began seeking help from a professional investigator, someone she hoped could illuminate the deep-seated behaviors within the HOA leadership. Through each document and exchange, they uncovered financial propositions made by Lisa that had never been made transparent. Questions regarding the HOA's financial sources started surfacing, accompanied by doubts about how they were being utilized. However, what she truly did not expect was that she would become embroiled in this struggle. As a matter of course, Michelle felt she was not just an outsider, but a warrior, a symbol of the yearning for justice. She could not accept that those who abused power were living freely while the residents around them suffered. That night, looking out at the dim glow of the streetlight outside her window, Michelle revisited Ryan's dreams in her mind. She recalled the image of her son, brimming with zeal and always courageous in standing up for what was right. "I won't let you down, my son," Michelle quietly vowed to herself. The next morning, she met Ethan to discuss their plan. Ethan, with his sensitive soul, understood his mother's feelings more than anyone else. "Mom, if we do this, we need to prepare for all consequences," he emphasized, yet deep down, Ethan admitted he was eager to see good things return to their neighborhood. With newfound determination, Michelle returned to the HOA meeting. Each word she spoke was carefully chosen, carrying not only pain and indignation but also a longing for a cohesive community. She challenged Lisa not just with solid evidence but also with the ideal of fair treatment that they all deserved. Here, the struggle was not merely a conflict among individuals, it was a fight for the foundation of community values. Michelle recognized that overthrowing a tyrant was not just a personal success, it was a beacon of hope for all who awaited a courageous act. She was ready to raise her voice, not only for herself but for all those living under the shadow of fear and injustice. Though unsure of where this might lead, Michelle felt that now was the time to confront reality rather than avoid it. In her eyes, hope was no longer an extravagant dream, but a tangible reality, born from concrete actions. And from there, a new journey began, a fight for justice and transparency in the society they inhabited. Michelle, with a fiery determination burning in her chest, could no longer accept the manipulation of the community by the HOA led by Lisa for so long. Last night, she was not only engulfed in the pain of losing her son, whom she had cried out for, but now it had also turned into a battle against injustice that she could not ignore. The following morning, Michelle decided she would not settle for being merely a suffering resident. She would delve deeper into the events occurring behind the dark curtain of the HOA. At the break of dawn, Michelle arrived at the local library, a place that contained not just books, but also documents and records about the HOA. She sat down, engrossed in turning page after page, uncovering secrets from the organization's past, envelopes filled with financial information, meeting minutes, and complaint letters from residents. Each detail painted a clearer picture of a life oppressed by Lisa's power. She could not believe that the monthly fees residents had to pay had been siphoned off by Lisa for projects that were never realized. The letters of denunciation from those living nearby, who had bravely spoken out against Lisa's abuse of power, became invaluable material for the case that Michelle decided to pursue. With every document she gathered, the yearning for justice within her surged like an uncontrollable river. Michelle could not do this alone. She needed support from those with expertise. She sought out a well-known investigator in the city, someone who had handled numerous cases involving community corruption. They had profound discussions, during which Michelle shared each story, each pain, and each aspiration of hers. The investigator supported her, and together they formulated a plan to initiate legal action against the HOA. The days that followed were a whirlwind of meetings and discussions with the investigator. As they sought ways to influence Lisa and rid the community of her dark shadow, Michelle felt empowered. Like a warrior preparing to enter battle, she called the residents, inviting them to join her in this challenge. Some who had previously been too frightened to speak out began to find their courage. Together, they filed a lawsuit, creating an unstoppable wave against Lisa's power grab. Michelle and the investigator became indispensable allies. They gathered evidence from the meetings that Lisa had manipulated, analyzed financial reports, and verified signatures to accuse her. Michelle's position grew stronger as she witnessed the trust from other residents, and the community's solidarity surged like a reassuring tide. As the day of the court hearing approached, Michelle's emotions were tumultuous. She was preparing not only for a legal battle, but also for a struggle against everything that Lisa represented, bolstered by the community's faith and the support of the investigator. Michelle felt empowered by the seemingly small things that held great strength. She was no longer just a lonely woman. She had become a symbol of hope, justice, and change. The HOA meeting took place in a tense atmosphere. The atmosphere was charged with pointed looks, whispers, and suppressed emotions waiting for a storm to break. Michelle stood in the middle of the conference room, her hands gripping the file she had meticulously prepared. The evidence she had gathered from the investigation was not just paperwork. More importantly, it was the voice of many residents in the neighborhood who had endured the abuse of power that Lisa, the HOA president, had wielded for far too long. "We can no longer accept this situation," Michelle began, her voice steady yet calm. She took a deep breath, feeling the support of a few residents around her. An organization without transparency and ethics is nothing but an empty shell. I have spoken to many people in this community, and they all feel oppressed. All they want is to be heard and respected. Lisa, sitting at the front, wore a tense expression. She was unaccustomed to being challenged in such a way. "Michelle, your words are nothing but manipulation and disruption to what we have built," she interjected. "We need to maintain discipline, and sometimes that means making tough decisions." Michelle stood her ground. She pulled a photograph from her file. "This is a photo of the ceremony celebrating the founding of the HOA. Do you see anyone here, adults? Children all are happy. But now, that happiness has been traded for fear and silence. I have heard too many stories about unjust meetings and the lack of respect stemming from your position." A deep breath echoed in the room. Some residents began to whisper and nod in agreement with Michelle. They had long been silenced, but now their feelings seemed to be bolstered by Michelle's courage. "We do not want to be managed like children," Michelle continued, her gaze unwavering. "We do not want you to force us to conform to all the strict guidelines you have imposed. We desire a community where people can build together, where everyone's opinions are respected." Lisa now found herself in a difficult position, but she still evaded the acknowledgement. "You cannot blame me for those regulations," she retorted. "They are necessary to maintain safety and order, not to control people. Safety does not come from control," Michelle countered, her expression resolute. "It comes from trust and respect among residents. Please listen to what I and others are trying to convey to you. I want to work with you to build a better home for all of us." In the eyes of the residents, Michelle saw a spark of enthusiasm. They had been waiting for a moment like this, an opportunity to be heard and express themselves. Their eyes shone like a flame, invigorating her. "We need a change." A resident named John spoke up, still a bit hesitant. "Without your change, we may no longer feel safe and happy in this place." John's words created a shock, igniting a wave in the atmosphere. Others began to express their support, creating a ripple effect in the room. There was no longer just Michelle standing up. Many had begun to follow her lead, their voices rising strongly against Lisa. Michelle decided to harness this growing storm. She guided the conversation, creating an open space where everyone could express their frustrations and aspirations. Each word, each sentiment from every resident became a brick to build a sturdy wall against the abuse of power. Lisa remained seated but was no longer as confident as before. She began to feel the pressure from the residents she had once regarded as weak. Frustration was evident in her eyes. She had hoped to control everything without foreseeing the power of unity within the community. "We are not here to go against you," Michelle said from the bottom of her heart. "We are here to create change, to make this community a place where everyone is heard. Why can't we work together? Why can't we collaboratively create the rules that everyone agrees upon?" The meeting gradually transformed into an open dialogue where residents shared their stories. They spoke about feeling unsafe, recounting times they were threatened when they wanted to voice their opinions. Each voice buoyed their collective courage, and the light of hope began to flicker. Michelle felt clearly that her goal was not just to demand transparency in the HOA, but to empower each individual within the community. She believed that only when they all stood together could they create real change. On the other side of the table, Lisa began to fumble. As she saw people gradually standing up to support Michelle, her confidence eroded. Questions about regulations and her opaque dealings swirled in her mind. "Michelle," Lisa hesitated. "I think we can find some way to work together." Her instincts were returning. But now it was not a condescending power. It was a sign of a much-awaited change. Everyone in the room paused to look at each other. Hope igniting. An unprecedented struggle was unfolding. But now, it was not just a battle between Michelle and Lisa. It was a fight for justice for an entire community. And it was clear to everyone in the room that true power did not lie in one person, but in the strength of solidarity. The legal battle of Michelle has come to an end, but deep within her, a flame of hope still burns. Behind all the pain, loss, and conflicts with Lisa, there lies a strong desire to transform her community into a better place. Ethan, her son, looks into his mother's eyes and sees a determination and unshakable strength. This struggle is not just about fighting an organization, it's about rebuilding what has been destroyed. Michelle and Ethan decide to turn the HOA office, the headquarters of their painful battle, into a memorial garden for Ryan. She envisions a lush, green space adorned with vibrant flowers, a place that not only preserves the memory of her son, but also serves as a gathering space for the community to come together, exchange ideas, and connect with one another. During the garden design process, Michelle invites the participation of other residents. She doesn't want this endeavor to be a mere personal symbol. She wants it to become a collective event, a way for everyone to collaborate and move past previous conflicts. Group meetings are held continuously, from selecting flower types to sketching layouts of the garden. Lisa also begins to participate, and gradually, the relationship between the two women becomes closer. The meetings to prepare for the garden's construction help create a more open atmosphere among the residents. Michelle encourages them to share their own stories about Ryan, about the memories they hold of him. To everyone's surprise, the love and empathy between them begin to heal old wounds. Many other mothers with children around Ryan's age start to feel heartache and wish to share their own losses. The day of the Memorial Garden's inauguration arrives. The entire community gathers, bringing various flowers and plants to plant together. Laughter fills the air. Warm stories are shared, and the sounds of shovels clinking resonate throughout. Michelle stands in the center, witnessing the smiles. the twinkling eyes, and feeling the transformation of the community. They are no longer isolated individuals, but rather a united community filled with compassion. Lisa observes the changes in both the community and herself. She gradually comes to understand that control only brings separation. She had once been so consumed with power that she forgot those around her needed to be heard as well. The inauguration event is not just a tribute to Ryan, but a lesson in listening, understanding, and moving forward together. Once the garden is complete, Michelle decides to host a festival called Karen Flower Day. This will be a day for residents to gather, enjoy music, share food, and revel in the beauty of the garden. The festival is not merely a party, it symbolizes the harmony, unity, and love they have rebuilt every year. On this day, the entire community will come together to remember Ryan while simultaneously enjoying joyful moments together, reminding everyone that love and forgiveness can overcome any hardship. Michelle has not only restored a space but has also revived values and relationships. Through this journey, she has taught everyone not only about the love for someone lost, but also about the strength of unity within the community. They have become one, transcending all barriers and prejudices, working together to build a better living environment. Thus, after all the pain and loss, Michelle and the community have not only sought justice for Ryan, but have also discovered the power of connection, forgiveness, and love, values they will carry with them on the path ahead. When the community began to recover from the dramatic events, a small letter appeared in Michelle's mailbox one morning. The letter itself was not long, but every word seemed to scrape away the layers of dust from the grievances that had built up between the two women over time. It was an apology letter from Lisa. In the letter, Lisa wrote, "I sincerely apologize for what has happened. I realize that managing and controlling not only hurts others but also oneself. My foolish decisions have affected not only me, but also the community I once cherished." Those lines were not merely an apology. They were also a serious acknowledgement of the responsibilities Lisa had long neglected. Michelle sensed the sincerity in those words. She was taken aback to feel the wall she had built to protect herself and Ethan from hurt beginning to crumble. Looking out the window, the colors of dawn seemed to shine brighter, symbolizing a new beginning. After rereading the letter several times, Michelle decided that this was an opportunity not to be missed. Rather than isolating herself and nurturing negative emotions, she felt she should open her heart to embrace this positive change. She chose to write a response, not just to reciprocate Lisa's sincerity, but also to lay the foundation for a new relationship and the possibility of collaboration in the future. In her letter, Michelle shared the pains she and Ethan had experienced, particularly during the time they lost their son, Ryan. She spoke of the loneliness and despair of facing the calamities life brought, but she also spoke of hope that both could learn from past mistakes and rebuild not just their relationship but also a better community. After sending the letter, Michelle spent considerable time pondering Lisa's response. Perhaps she would not reply immediately, but a change had begun to form in the hearts of both women. A few days later, Lisa talked with some other residents about Michelle's letter and how she felt about the change within herself. They began to realize that the excessive control that had once kept them apart had indeed hurt the entire community. Lisa decided that she would not only apologize, but also take action to rectify her mistakes. This awakening came not just from a letter. It was born from encounters with the painful realities the residents had faced in recent times. Some had experienced loss, some felt marginalized, and relationships had frayed. With a heart full of regret, Lisa understood that she needed to do more than just say she was sorry. She decided that she would return to a leadership position, but with an entirely different mindset, one of understanding and readiness to listen. In the following weeks, Michelle and Lisa organized a meeting to promote communication within the community. They invited all residents, creating an open space for opinions, confessions, and ideas to build the community. The meeting turned out to be a surprise, with enthusiastic participation from residents who had once remained silent, pushing aside anxieties and prejudices. As the meeting took place, Michelle and Lisa stood side by side, no longer adversaries but allies. They shared personal stories and encouraged everyone to open up. Tears were shed in empathy, and laughter echoed as connections were re-established throughout the community. A miracle occurred as people realized they were not alone, and the strength of unity would help them overcome all challenges. Lisa's apology was not only the starting point for her relationship with Michelle, it was also the first step towards a healing journey for the entire community. These two women had not only helped each other find their way, but had also established a solid foundation for the future, where patience and understanding would be the guiding light for every resident of Chicago. Lisa sat in her office, reflecting on everything that had transpired over the past time. She felt weary and weighed down, not only by the pressure of the conflict with Michelle, but also by the fragmented pieces of her own life. The images of happy days with family and friends slowly faded, replaced by a sense of loneliness and the stress of her role as HOA president. But then, something changed within Lisa. She knew she couldn't continue like this. The strict controlling behavior and rigidity in safeguarding power had distanced her from the valuable principles she once held dear: friendship, empathy, and trust. She thought of Michelle, the fierce, passionate woman who dared to stand up against injustice. In truth, Michelle was not just an adversary. She was a shining example of courage and the pursuit of justice. Moved by these thoughts, Lisa decided to write a note to Michelle. She wasn't sure if that other woman would read it with an open heart. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that she needed to acknowledge her mistakes, to convey a sincere apology. Dear Michelle, she began to write. I know that I have caused difficulties for you and the other residents in this neighborhood on numerous occasions. I sincerely apologize for allowing power to cloud my judgment and for losing the necessary empathy toward everyone. What I did not only hurt you, but also the community we live in. After finishing the note, Lisa felt a bit lighter. She tucked it into an envelope and decided to send it to Michelle immediately. Then, she made a promise to herself that she would do more. Not just to speak, but to take action. Days passed, and one afternoon, Michelle received the note. As she read it, tears rolled down her cheeks, but not from sorrow, rather, from emotion and hope. For the first time, she felt that something positive could emerge between her and Lisa. Inside her was an open heart, ready to forgive. After careful consideration, Michelle decided to meet with Lisa. They arranged to meet at a small cafe that they both enjoyed, not only to savor drinks but also to listen to one another. The atmosphere in the cafe was vibrant, but where they sat was quite peaceful. Michelle, Lisa spoke, her voice somewhat urgent. Thank you for coming. I just want to start by saying that I truly apologize for what has happened. I allowed my ego and pride to paralyze my sense of community. I did not do what I should have. Michelle looked deeply into Lisa's eyes, sensing the sincerity from the woman before her. I know you have faced significant pressures from your role, but to me, what matters most is our community. Together, we can change everything. And so, from the flaws and pain, they began a new journey. Lisa and Michelle not only found understanding, but also built a meaningful relationship. They agreed to collaborate on reforming the HOA, drafting new regulations together, aiming for a more inclusive community where everyone's voice was heard and respected. They organized open meetings, inviting residents to share their opinions, desires, and concerns. New initiatives were proposed, from organizing small festivals to activities that brought residents together like park cleanups or life skills workshops. Gradually, the atmosphere in the neighborhood became fresh and renewed. Old conflicts were resolved, replaced by unity and dedication, day by day. Lisa increasingly felt the value of friendship and empathy. She was no longer the harsh HOA president, but rather a part of a thriving community where everyone had a voice. As spring arrived, they decided to host a Karen Flower Festival, a day to celebrate unity. The celebration not only brought joy, but also symbolized change, new relationships, and the collective effort to build a better community. Thus, from the deep pits of conflict, Michelle and Lisa built something more beautiful together. They were no longer just difficult women. They were warriors of friendship and empathy in this Chicago community. When dawn broke over the quiet neighborhood, the atmosphere had become more tense than ever. Michelle and Lisa sat across from each other in a small cafe, where the cozy ambiance was disrupted by a heavy mood. They had just received news about a new group of residents in the HOA, who not only supported Lisa but also showed unwavering loyalty to outdated regulations, making their reform efforts increasingly difficult. "We need to take action," Michelle said, her gaze resolute. "If we don't, everything will revert to the way it was, and we won't achieve anything at all." Lisa nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and a newfound motivation within her. What they're doing is unacceptable. They believe they have the right to control everything without accountability to the community. They understood that this was not merely a battle over authority, but a struggle for the future of an entire community. They realized that raising their voices was not just about punishing this group of residents, but also necessary to protect the values they were striving to build. Alongside this, they decided to organize an HOA meeting to inform all residents about the changes they had made together and their future plans. However, to create strength against those still clinging to the old system, they needed a clear and persuasive strategy. "We need a detailed plan, and both of us must act as leaders." Michelle emphasized, "If we can attract the attention of other residents and show them the benefits of change, we can create momentum in the community." Lisa agreed. "Perhaps we should invite influential residents in the community to this meeting. They need to see that there is real support from many sides, not just from us." Thus, the HOA meeting was organized, attracting a large number of residents to attend. The atmosphere in the hall was filled with excitement and tension. The rows were filled with potential allies, but also with opponents ready to defend the power Lisa once held. As Michelle and Lisa stepped onto the stage, they felt the evaluating gazes of the residents. Michelle began her speech in a confident yet warm voice. "We have lived in a community filled with beauty, but also rife with tension and helplessness over the past time. Today, we are here not only to protect what has been built, but also to open a better future for all of us." Lisa followed up. "We understand that not every decision is easy, but what's important is that we create an environment where every resident is heard and respected." The hall fell silent, and everyone could feel the sincerity in their words. Gradually, the tension eased, and some residents began to nod, accepting Michelle and Lisa's message. Half an hour later, a resident stood up, pacing to start asking questions. "If we change, but people are not ready, what will happen? Can we truly unite?" Michelle looked directly at the person. "Change is never easy, but we believe that the willingness to listen and share is how we can connect. Give us the opportunity to prove that this can succeed." The ensuing discussion became a battle of consciousness, as many residents voiced their opposition to Michelle and Lisa's reform ideas. However, the more people reacted, the more the resilience and determination of the two women stood out. As a community, we cannot turn our backs on the issues we are facing. This community must be a place where everyone feels valued and connected. Lisa declared, "Let's work together to make this neighborhood a place where everyone feels safe and happy." The meeting continued to extend, and both had to patiently listen to the concerns and questions from the residents. With each question, they opened different perspectives, creating opportunities for dialogue and discussion. Finally, as the light of hope began to flicker, a resident stood up and said, "I agree. If you can commit to working for all of us, then I'm willing to stand by you." That was the pivotal moment that Michelle and Lisa had awaited. Support began with one person and quickly spread further. This made it impossible for those still clinging to the old regulations to maintain their power. As the meeting came to a close, a sense of solidarity emerged among the residents. Michelle and Lisa had not only stood up against the opposition but had also awakened the strength of cooperation and community spirit within each person. They had proved that, despite facing a large and stubborn tumor, they could still work together to build a true home for everyone. The struggle against the conservative residents had only just begun, but Michelle and Lisa stood stronger than ever. They were ready to face any challenge, with the passion to bring a hopeful future to this Chicago community. Michelle stood in the midst of the tense meeting room, the lights illuminating the anxious and defiant faces of the community residents. Lisa, a woman once regarded as a symbol of power, now stood beside her with a resolute expression. They had weathered many ups and downs, but their unity was now the most powerful weapon against those who sought to overturn the reform efforts they had painstakingly built. We are not just fighting for ourselves, but for the future of this entire community. Michelle spoke, her voice resonating through the silent room. "It is time for us to reclaim the power that we deserve. Do not let those who resist change block our progress." Michelle's passionate words sparked a fire of inspiration among the residents present at the meeting. In the past, they often felt too timid or uncertain to speak up. But now, standing together, they felt the strength that comes from unity. Under the guidance of Michelle and Lisa, each person began to view the issues from a new perspective, adopting a more proactive approach. "We need to develop a practical plan," Lisa suggested, her sharp gaze directed at the crowd. "A plan that everyone can participate in, where no one is left behind. We are not just fighting against a group of people, we are fighting for a healthy and positive living environment." A sense of excitement enveloped the room. Residents began to enthusiastically discuss with one another, seeking opinions, solutions, and new initiatives. Michelle had rarely seen people so engaged. The atmosphere was filled with hope and determination. "I propose a meeting to gather everyone's feedback," a resident from Block C suggested. "We could hold a Karen Flower Festival to celebrate what we have overcome and encourage residents to engage in community-building activities." Lisa immediately agreed. "That's a brilliant idea. A festival is not just a celebration, it's an opportunity for us to demonstrate solidarity and foster relationships with one another. We could organize artistic, musical, and even sports activities to help everyone connect." The discussion continued, with many people offering ideas and useful information to reach residents who had never participated before. Hope gradually appeared on every face, and positivity spread through the space like sunlight after a storm. But soon, a warm yet haughty voice broke through, drawing everyone's attention. "Since when do we have to listen to people we never thought would become leaders?" one of the conservative members asked. Unabashedly, Michelle stepped forward with a calm smile. "I understand your skepticism, but let's look at this sincerely. We have endured too much, and it is time to prioritize respect and love. Our opponents are not specific individuals, but rather a system that has existed for too long without positive change. Lisa, now an indispensable ally to Michelle, concurred, change requires determination and action. We cannot sit idly by waiting for good things to happen. Instead, we must take an active role in creating a community in which we all take pride. As the residents began to be swept up in these impassioned words, a new sensation lingered in the air. They temporarily put aside their divisions and the adversities they faced. They wanted to build something better together. A small meeting with genuine voices gradually transformed into a larger movement. In the following days, Michelle and Lisa planned the Karen Flower Festival. They connected with local businesses, artists, and even schools to attract more resident participation. People started contributing their ideas and efforts for a common cause. Together, they decorated the event area, creating an atmosphere of joy and vibrancy unlike any before. Finally, the day of the festival arrived, and everyone in the community was excited. Each flower presented as a symbol of unity and love, dressed in beautiful attire. Laughter and hymns filled the air, generating a space full of warmth and happiness. Even the former opposition could not maintain their rigid attitudes as they witnessed the strength of love and community. Michelle and Lisa stood side by side, gazing at the beaming faces. They knew they had achieved something special. They had not only triumphed over the forces that obstructed them, but also helped build a community with beautiful values, and love one where each individual could shine and freely express their opinions. And in that moment, as the setting sun cast its light upon the vibrant flowers, they realized that the battle was never truly over, but they had each other. They understood that true strength comes from the bonds of love and a steadfast belief in the future. Michelle and Lisa have navigated a tumultuous journey, leading them to realize that the power of love and solidarity can transcend any conflicts, thanks to their joint efforts. The summer has not only brought warm sunshine, but also a refreshing breeze into the Chicago community. As the Karen Flower Festival unfolds, the atmosphere is filled with joy and vibrancy. The entire neighborhood seems to awaken, with families bustling to prepare for this event. Colorful flowers are planted in small pots, elegantly decorated and placed everywhere, symbolizing unity and the beauty of humankind. The festival serves not only as an opportunity for residents to mingle, but also as a moment to honor their efforts in rebuilding the community. Michelle and Lisa have collaboratively organized numerous activities for the festival, ranging from flower stalls to fun games for children. They invited local artists and musical groups to perform, creating a lively and cheerful ambiance. Laughter and joy resonate throughout the city, allowing everyone to forget past conflicts. The Karen Flower Festival is not merely an event. It carries a powerful message of acceptance and forgiveness. When Michelle and Lisa stand together on stage, they embody the obstacles that have been overcome. They share their story, showing everyone that differences in viewpoint are not barriers, but rather opportunities for growth and understanding. A special highlight of the festival is the beautiful bouquet contest. Each family is encouraged to create unique bouquets that reflect their cultural identity and deeper significance. These bouquets transform into works of art and serve as symbols of each family's story, akin to the narratives of Michelle and Lisa. The bouquets are displayed with honor, with every flower containing a soul, a memory, and a message of love. As the crowd immerses itself in the lively melodies, Michelle observes everyone dancing together, laughing, and sharing moments of happiness. She realizes that the festival not only helps the residents improve their relationships, but also brings hope and belief in the future. Those who once betrayed each other are now shaking hands, embracing, and reconnecting the severed ties. The warmth of the event intensifies when Lisa, in the presence of the community, steps up to speak. She admits that past mistakes had blinded her, preventing her from recognizing the value of friendship and solidarity. "I lived under control and arrogance," Lisa shares, her voice choked with emotion. "But today, I am truly proud to stand before you and say that I have learned a valuable lesson. We are stronger together." Her words touch the hearts of all present. Many residents rise, applauding and chanting Lisa's name, reflecting their forgiveness and desire to rebuild relationships. The emotionally charged atmosphere moves people to tears. They recognize that differences can be harmonized as long as there is sincerity and kindness. As the festival gradually comes to a close, a large painting of a Karen flower is displayed in the center of the park, a collective artwork created from the contributions of every resident. Each flower in the painting represents the gathering of all memories, stories, and collective efforts to build a place filled with love. Michelle and Lisa stand beside the painting, looking at each other and realizing that their relationship is not merely a partnership in fighting injustice. They have become close friends, always supporting one another and together building a stronger community. The Karen Flower Festival has opened a space for creativity and, above all, a place to rediscover trust. Both women know that the journey ahead is still long, but what matters is that they are no longer alone on that path. They have started from small flowers and greenery in the corner of the park, and now they are blossoming into larger, more vibrant blooms in this life. As night falls, the twinkling lights illuminate the painting of the Karen flower, and Michelle and Lisa gaze toward the horizon. They know that challenges still lie ahead, but hurrah, they have taken the first steps on the path of change and hope. Life resembles a cycle of reincarnation, where challenges, conflicts, and happiness intertwine to create a vibrant tapestry. The story of Michelle, Ethan, and Lisa is not merely a personal battle, but also a profound lesson about humanity, forgiveness, and the power of community. After all she has endured, Michelle stands at the memory of her son, Ryan, and feels more grounded than ever within her soul. The memorial garden that she and Ethan have built is not just a space for reflection, but a symbol of rebirth and hope. The brightly blooming flowers tell the story of love and unfulfilled dreams. This is where the beautiful memories of Ryan will forever endure. Appearing in the morning sunlight and the cheerful chirping of birds, Lisa, upon realizing her own mistakes, has truly opened her heart. She not only sent Michelle an apology note, but also began to contemplate her role within the community. This self-awareness transformed her from a controlling woman into a responsible leader who knows how to listen. The newfound friendship between them has significantly aided in restructuring the HOA, making it a place where all residents can share, give feedback, and grow together. Lisa's transformation was not an easy feat. It came with conflicts and skepticism from residents unaccustomed to this novelty. A small conservative group that wanted to maintain the old ways of operation emerged as the antagonists in this story. They believe that the control they are familiar with is essential to maintaining order in the community. Recognizing this, Michelle and Lisa not only stood firm, but also sought ways to change the mindset of these individuals. This new battle is not just about power, it is a struggle for solidarity and fairness. Michelle and Lisa devised a well-thought-out strategy, skillfully reaching out to every resident, from the most skeptical to the most open. They organized open meetings where all residents could join and discuss their needs and desires. They turned these gatherings into celebrations, ensuring that everyone felt joyful, comfortable, and, most importantly, heard. At a decisive HOA meeting, Michelle stood up, her eyes bright with hope, and delivered her heartfelt message. She shared Ryan's story, extending beyond the mother-son relationship to forge a deeper connection with everyone present. Together, we have lived and faced many challenges. There is no reason we cannot unite to build a stronger community, she said. Her words were simple yet powerful, not just to persuade but to touch the reality of life everyone among them was facing. Amidst Michelle's words, there was empathy from the residents. They too had experienced pain, anxiety, and hope. Under her guidance, they recognized that control could never replace humanity and connection. The friendship between Michelle and Lisa opened a new pathway, a new voice for the entire community. As victory drew near, it was not just a tune of success, but also lessons of forgiveness, love, and patience. These strong women, once adversaries, had become allies. Together, they created the Karen Flower Festival, a place where every resident could participate, showcasing solidarity and overflowing love. This was not just a day to remember a lost loved one, but also a day to celebrate the strength of the community and the newly formed relationships. The festival unfolded in an atmosphere brimming with joy and warmth. The vibrant flowers, joyful laughter, and widespread happiness demonstrated that, no matter how harsh life may be, as long as there is humanity, patience, and determination, everything can change. The story of Michelle and Lisa is not merely a lesson, but also a legacy. It reminds us that all conflicts can be resolved through understanding and compassion. Life is never perfect, but it is precisely those imperfections and challenges that render it precious. Each time they see a flower bloom, they not only remember the lost but also express gratitude for a journey they have shared together. By reframing life through difficulties, love and sincerity remain steadfast in each person's heart. Michelle and Ethan not only sought justice for Ryan, but also contributed to creating a better community. Their journey, from sorrow to discord, from conflict to peace, is truly a testament to the power of love and unity. In conclusion, it can be said that the story of the Karen Flowers holds significance not just in a particular land, but in each soul. Love and truth will forever be enduring values, helping us weather every storm in life.